So there have been some huge victories right now for the Republican Party. There is the big, beautiful bill that just passed, which is giving billions upon billions of dollars for the Republican Party, or for ICE rather, to be able to ramp up dramatically their deportation efforts, which means we're going to start seeing at some point 5,000 to 10,000 people per day getting arrested and deported, and possibly more down the road. And Hakeem Jeffries is pretty pissed about that. He said that if the big, beautiful bill passes, which of course it did, the deportation machine would be unleashed on steroids, which it looks like it will. You're looking at $150 to $170 billion for immigration enforcement. Some of that will go towards building the wall, but a large chunk of that is going towards hiring new agents, building new facilities, and deporting people en masse. And seeing how the states like Florida with Alligator Alcatraz are already doing their best to get the deportation prisons set up, the federal government's not going to have to waste that money on building their own facilities. They'll be able to just ramp up deportations. So this is a huge win. And on top of all of this, the Supreme Court also just handed down another victory for Donald Trump, allowing the administration to deport the illegal aliens, the criminals, to South Sudan. This is from the Post-Millennial. They write, the Supreme Court on Thursday issued an unsigned order stating that a handful of illegal immigrant criminals whom the Trump administration sought to deport to South Sudan and who have been waiting to find out their court-ordered fate can be deported to South Sudan. The court said that the May 21 remedial order cannot now be used to enforce injunctions that are state-rendered unenforceable, referencing the back and forth that has gone on with the case and the federal judge in Boston. I'm one of those Boasberg types judges who is a political activist trying to thwart the Trump administration. The question before the court was how to handle a circumstance in which they have said previously that the government could deport the men, which was in opposition to a lower court ruling, only to have that lower court refuse to accept the decision and say that its own ruling was still in effect. Again, you got these little king judges trying to usurp presidential power. Now, Justice Elena Kagan, who had agreed with the minority dissent written by Justice Sotomayor, the leftists in the court, that the men should not be deported, upheld the Thursday decision, saying a majority of this court saw things differently, and I do not see how a district court can compel compliance with an order that this court has stayed. Sotomayor and Justice Ketanji Brown, the doofus of the Senate, Jackson disagreed with the majority, saying that while the case before the court involved the government's ask for clarification, after the district court refused to abide by the Supreme Court stay of the district court's order, the government, in their view, wasn't really asking for clarification. Saying the government now asks this court to hold the stay invalidated, the remedial order. In substance, of course, the government's new request for relief has nothing to do with clarification, so this court has no business considering its merits now. And why all of this matters, my friends, is now that you got the big, beautiful bill passed and a lot of new funding coming, these kinds of fights are imperative to get swept out of the way now so that you can do the mass deportations, which they are coming. It's not going to happen overnight, but it is going to continue to ramp up and ramp up and ramp up. And these kind of victories, I mean, Trump is on a massive, massive roll right now. And these are all going on in his favor. The inability now for judges to be able to do nationwide injunctions. I mean, it's all playing into Trump's hands. There were people that I was speaking with earlier this year, because I've been tracking the attempts to deport and the judges constantly blocking and trying to gum up the works. And I had people saying, well, why doesn't Trump just tell the courts to go pound sand and just, I'm not going to follow you and I'm just going to do what I want and deport anyway? And my opinion on that was, look, it's all politics and you have to tread carefully here. You don't want to, they're trying to paint you as a dictator. The last thing you want to do is start thumbing your nose at the courts. Let the courts figure it out. If the Supreme Court had reached a point of no return, well, then maybe that's a different conversation. And that was the last bastion of defense that the left has, other than riots and protests, which those two, they tried it already. That's only working in Trump's favor. This is how you get the military eventually involved. If you start burning down cities, the Insurrection Act, perfect. Rebellion, perfect. Now you get the Marines in there. Now you can really mass up or ramp up deportations. you can get to 15, 20,000 a day. So the left here has painted themselves in a corner. I don't know how they get out of this right now, because this is what the American people want. They want the illegal aliens gone. All the sob stories in the world, all the emotional blackmail in the world is not going to change people's minds on this. It's fascinating to watch. It really is. And seeing the missteps here from the Democrat Party right now and the activist judges showing themselves to be mini dictators. It's amazing, because 10 years ago, Donald Trump only had like 30% support on mass deportation. And now you have majority, 56, 57% of the American public, want all aliens out of the country that are here illegally. And almost 85%, 80+%, want them all, or want at least bare minimum all the criminal aliens, people that committed additional crimes after breaking the law to come to the U.S. illegally. So fantastic stuff is on the way. So there you go.